All right, everybody, Samori Benjamin here with longtime former major leaguer and former manager, of course, now New York Yankees bench coach, Brad Ausmus. Brad, thank you for joining me. It's a pleasure to be able to interview you. And I know you are a three-time Gold Glove Award winner, and as I was telling you, I followed your career. I really didn't realize until you got here that you started your career in the Yankee organization, that you were drafted by them. So, I mean, what would it like for you to be able to come back here after not playing for the Yankees, after playing so many years in the minor league system?
Come full circle. It's kind of funny because I did get drafted by the Yankees. I signed with them. I played with them in the minor leagues for 5.5 years. And then a shock to my system, I got taken by the Colorado Rockies in the expansion draft. And I had been with the Yankees that whole time as a pro. And when you all of a sudden go to a different organization for the first time, it was really a shock. I thought I was going to come up to the Yankees, play for the Yankee Stadium. And it just didn't happen. And then for the next 20-odd years, I never go back to the Yankees.
Right.
But then I get this opportunity. Aaron Boone called me. Brian Cashman called me about coming out as a bench coach. And I was excited for a number of reasons. One, I got to go back to the New York Yankees. It's, to me, the most prestigious historical franchise in sports. And if I got the job, my daughters were there, which helps. So I get to see them more often. So there was really not one negative aspect to it for me.
Yeah, and so I know you're from Connecticut. Growing up, were you a fan of any of the teams in this area?
So I actually grew up a Red Sox fan. My mom was born right outside of Boston and kind of raised me as a Red Sox fan. That's all in the rearview mirror. Actually, that went into the rearview mirror as soon as I got drafted by the Yankees out of high school.
Yeah, no doubt. And I know high school, I know you play basketball as well, right?
Yes.
Along with baseball. How did you get into basketball and baseball because you didn't go?
I just played both. I played as a kid in the rec leagues, high school. Played both baseball and basketball. Truth be told, basketball was probably when I was at that age my first love. Like I really enjoyed playing basketball. The only problem was I'm barely 6 feet tall, so it doesn't really translate. And I was actually a better baseball player than I was a basketball player. So it's just kind of a natural path to follow and continue my career in baseball as long as I could as opposed to basketball.
Right, so growing up a Red Sox fan, I know you definitely remember the heartbreak in '86. That was right before you got drafted the next year. So I mean, what do you remember about that as being a teenager watching?
Oh, I do remember. I remember where I was when the famed ball went through Bill Buckner's leg and ended up losing to the Mets in the World Series. Shortly thereafter, actually probably 7 months later, I wasn't a Red Sox anymore, having nothing to do with the '86 World Series that had to do with being drafted by the Yankees.
Yeah, and I saw you were a teammate of Brian Leach in high school, right? Baseball team, right?
Yeah, Brian was a year ahead of me in high school. I was a freshman and he was a sophomore on our high school state championship team. That's the only year Brian and I played together because he transferred to a prep school to play hockey. He actually played hockey and baseball, but hockey obviously was his focus.
Now, okay, so like you said, you get drafted, you got the money Yankees, and so I mean, I'm sure your dream was to play Major League Baseball, so you get drafted by the Yankees. So what do you remember your thought being at that time, the Yankees drafted?
Well, there was a lot more rounds back then. I was drafted in 48 rounds. Now I'm not even sure where it's up. I think there's 20 rounds. And it's much more different now. Players in high school, in college, are much more aware about being drafted, preparing for the draft. When I was in high school, I was just playing. I knew I had a shot at being drafted because there were tons of scouts that would come to my game. I went to a few tryouts for different organizations, the Braves, the Expos at the time. Actually, the New York Yankees brought me here, the old Yankee Stadium, for a pre-draft tryout. So I knew there was interest. The draft happened, there's no internet, you can't really follow it online, you can't follow it on TV, it's not televised. I got a call, I think the third day of the draft, saying I was going to play the Yankees and that they would be in touch.
one thing I want to tell people, very impressive, because you didn't even draft in the 48th round, and you lasted longer than every player in the draft. You were the last one to play your last major league game, so that's incredible. Now, I know you went to Dortmund as well, and you were in the minor league Yankees, and then I guess you take a class at Dortmund, doing both. So just how was that? I know you ended up graduating as well. So how was your impressive?
It actually worked well. So I was in the minor leagues for the vast majority, actually all of that. Dartmouth has, they don't call it a quarter system, but it's basically a quarter system. So it fit together very well, the quarter system and then the minor league season. I would go to, the Yankees allowed me to go to my full freshman year, and then every year after that I basically went fall, winter, quarter, and then I'd leave and go to spring training. And I'd take an extra class every time. So I did that for 5.5 years and eventually graduated.
Now your time in the minor leagues with the Yankees at that time, late 80s, early 90s, I'm sure a lot of the guys who ended up playing with them, they started to get good again and into the late 90s. Some of those guys I'm sure you came up with in the minor league system, and even somebody who I think you played with who was not on the championship teams, but Bam Bam, I'm sure probably when you teammates, you might have even played with Deion Sanders. I don't know, but
I did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
In Sarasota, that was the first place he played as a professional baseball player in Sarasota, Florida. Now Deion and I were on the same team.
Nice. What was it like that, at that point in your lives playing with Deion?
You know, it's funny. I didn't really know anything about Florida State football. And this guy comes walking towards our field. He's got a throng of media around him. I didn't know the Yankees had signed him, and I had to ask him, "Hey, who's that?" And then, of course, that day, Deion looked at me when he was playing with us. Super nice, great teammate. The one on-field image I still have of him is when he did a routine ground ball to the second baseman and beat it out. So, really speaks.
Yeah, I remember him playing for the Yankees, back up then, and you were in the minor leagues at that time. So you're in the minors, and then, like you said, expansion draft, 92 Colorado takes you, right? Before I get to that, what was it like just not so much on the Yankee minor league system, but just playing with some of those guys coming up? What was it like playing with them?
I mean, there's still a lot of those guys that I stay in touch with. I see Bernie. I saw Bernie in spring training. I see Bernie around here. The guys like JT Snow, actually Bam Bam and I will text once in a while. So there are guys that I still stay in touch with. There are a few that are still
very cool. Okay, so now after Colorado takes you, you traded to San Diego, right? So you make your debut in San Diego, 93. And one of the cool things about that is my favorite player growing up was a kid with Trevor Grant. And I know he got traded in July that year. That Padres team, had 20 wins. Got traded in the how was it for you to make your debut and how did you feel?
I mean, I made my debut in Wrigley. I remember I arrived on, I can't remember what day of the week it was. As the Cubs normally do, it was a day game. I arrived at 8 a.m. in the middle of the game. Andy Bennis, I think, was throwing like a 1 or 2 hitter, and Tony Gwynn was in the middle of a 5-8 game. A lot less rare for him than anyone else. Was there for 3 years. Actually, Tony really kind of became a mentor. We would hit in the offseason together. We go down to the stadium, we go to the cage. I learned a lot of hitting philosophy from Tony. Often just him and I in the cage 3 days a week from November until November spring training.
But now you go from get traded to Detroit, then go to Houston, then go to Detroit and back to Houston. Now in 97, 98, you're in Houston. I remember you guys getting ready Johnson, 98 for the playoffs. You faced Kevin Brown with Padres, another big series. What was it like just being a part of that National team at that time? Vigil, Bagwell, late 90s.
I mean, Houston's where I spent the biggest chunk of my career. Over half my career was in Houston. Amazing back there, good friends of mine. The 97 team was an Astros team that had the Astros hadn't been to the playoffs for quite a while. I think since 86. Yeah. So it was, the Astros, we saw the Astrodome. It was packed, really loud, a lot of fun. 98 team, we won over 100 games. They acquired Moises Alou at that point. We traded for Randy Johnson. Unfortunately, we passed the first round of the playoffs, but really good teams. And it kind of started to run in the Astros of having really good teams for about a decade.
Yeah, definitely. So now, you go to Detroit, 99, makes All-Star team, you won All-Star team in your career, and you also got lead off a few times when you got time as a catcher. No catcher had that lead off at that time since like 1976, so that was very interesting as well. Very good year for you, All-Star team. What a Fenway Park, Ted Williams and all that. How was that for you?
I mean, that was awesome. Like I mentioned, I was a Red Sox fan as a kid, so having my only All-Star game in Fenway Park was really cool. Ted Williams coming back to Fenway Park for the Colombo. I had been fortunate enough to have lunch with him a couple years earlier, which was even cooler, quite frankly. But yeah, if I could only go to one All-Star game, I was in Fenway Park for the first time.
Okay, now, go back to Houston, you're there for about 7 8 years, and a lot of really good time, a lot of playoff series in the LCS a couple of times, World Series in 05. What was it like, being part of that team, that core, that team, experience, all that you guys did?
I mean, truthfully, when I look back at my career, I consider myself a Houston Astros because I played for 4 teams. I kind of see myself in an Astros uniform. A lot of good friends, a lot of good memories. Know the city. We had really good teams. The fans were great. We were filling Minute Maid Park at the time. So really, I have nothing but anything to say about my time there.
You were on the Astros when they combined, they'll hit the game, right? Were you catching that game? You were catching that game. That was a game that I remember vividly. And so, what are your thoughts about that game? Memories about that game?
Well, Oswalt got hurt, I think, in the second inning. So that's why it ended up being 6 pitches. But Oswalt came out really fired. He looked like he could throw a no-hitter on top. He gets hurt, I think he tweaked his groin. And at one point, the Yankees had bases loaded. I feel like Jorge Posada had 3-0 pitch that we got out of the inning. And I didn't realize it was a no-hitter because we had so much traffic. I think it was the 7th inning. Ridge was running in with the bullpen, and I kind of looked at him, and over his head I saw a 0 in the hit column. That's when I realized we had a no-hitter. And I think we had Ridge, Dotel, Wagner in the back end, and in my mind I thought, oh, we got a real shot at this.
Yes. I want to ask you real quick. Two pitchers who I really enjoyed watching growing up, the Yankees, Andy Pettit and Roger Clemens. You got to catch both of them in Houston. What was it like being able to catch them?
I mean, that was great. Both great teammates. I've always said that I needed a pitcher to save the human race. Pitch a game to win, save the human race, and Andy Pettit. Both are still really good friends of mine. Still stay in touch with both of them. Actually, as good as the Astros have been pulling in their signings, that kind of elevated the Astros presence. Not only in Houston, but in baseball.
Oh, well. I've got about 3 more for you. I appreciate this. So now, you also been a couple of times in Detroit, and then with the Angels as well. So how was that experience for you? You also were in front of before that, but how was the experience before you actually started playing?
I mean, I really enjoyed it. Detroit, we had some good teams. We had a couple good years coming back. What tremendous learning experience. I still always love the camaraderie, playing with the other coaches. I love the competition when you got the other teams in the dugout across the field. And that was a way for me to do that. And I'm even doing it now as a bench coach, but even more so as the manager. So I enjoyed my experience with Detroit. And Anaheim, even though that was much better.
Yeah, you got the chance to manage both Connie and Mike Trout, so what was that experience like?
I mean, they're great. Shohei had Tommy John surgery, so he wasn't pitching at the time. He didn't actually start the games until May, I think. I mean, obviously a tremendous talent. What an intelligent player. And I think right now we're seeing what we have seen over the last 3 years, despite the surgery, kind of what Billy Epler games were dreaming of when they signed him. Like, he's a two-way player that can hit for power, steal bases, and dominate it.
Okay, that's important. Okay, so now, who is the most talented player you have a chance to win?
Well, I think Shohei's a unique talent.
Well, you know what? I'll take the size, Shohei against Mike Trout.
What a manage?
Yeah.
Size Shohei and Mike Trout?
Yeah.
Go.
And most talented teammate that you ever played with. Give you on any level.
The most physically gifted is Probably Carlos Beltran.
Play with me with the Astros. Fine, he came in the playoffs. Yes. And okay, and last one, Yankees. You all now about 2.5 games in the first place, 2.5 games, I believe it is. And you know, you all have had a pretty good year after making the World Series last year. So almost to the late June. What do you think you guys have to do in a long baseball season that team push it
We hit a little run here this past week, but I think if we keep doing what we have been doing prior to that, we'll be fine. And I don't look too far down the schedule, and I definitely don't look at where we here. So for me, win tonight. If we win tonight, tomorrow.
All right, folks. Long-time former major leaguer, 3-time Gold Glover, now Yankees Bench Coach, Brad Ausmus. Brad, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, folks, come back.